To the exciting conclusion of VASGX versus VFINX. VASGX, of course, is a Vanguard Life Strategy Growth Fund, and VFINX is a Vanguard S&P 500 fund. And so what we're going to do here is we're just going to compare the end result of both funds and see which one looked better over the course of the previous 23 years. So welcome to Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, my friends. The place you come just to learn, you know, all kinds of stuff when it comes to financial planning, investments. I have just tons of stuff in this messed up brain of mine where I want to reach out and think about it, put it on my spreadsheet, my little Chromebook there. I use Google Sheets, start playing with numbers, and I go down some crazy rabbit hole, and then I like to throw it up on my whiteboard here, my $10, $15 whiteboard from Lowe's, and share it with you. So I hope you find this informative. Did I say subscribe? If not, do subscribe. All right, so the premise again, we did two things here. All right, so what have we done? We've taken VASGX and we've taken VFINX. So we said, what happens if in 1995 we put 100,000 to each, and every year at the end of the year it got above 100,000. We took the amount of money that was above 100,000 and annuitized it, and we're assuming the annuitized payout rate was 5%. So if you had $100,000 and it grew to 150,000 bucks in a year, we took that $50,000 and we annuitized it, and that'd pay whatever, that's that 25, I don't know, 5% of that 50,000 bucks, 2,500, I guess. And we're doing that each and every year. All right, so we did that for both funds, VASGX and VFINX. And then we said, okay, now part two, what if we took 5% a year, regardless of market conditions? The market goes up, market goes down, market goes up, market goes down. It doesn't matter. We're going to take 5% a year at the end of the year and spend that money as opposed to annuitizing. In both scenarios, the 5% just, in my opinion, just did much, much better. I can't, and I was, look, man, I was trying, I did say at the end of the day, I probably underscored the annuity a little bit because I was using a 5% payout rate, was probably, you know, 5.5 on the latter part, but might have only been 4.5 in the front. I don't know. So the annuity might get a little bit of short shift. I don't think much, frankly. And so it's in my opinion, the 5%, bar none, was the better of the two options. It's tough to see the other option, the annuitization, because again, you start with 100,000, you end with 100,000, 23 years hence. That 100,000, man, that doesn't buy nearly the same as what it did 23 years ago. It just doesn't. So you got to get your portfolio to grow. And I got to tell you, that's another reason why I'm just not a fan of bonds. I mean, bonds work exactly like that scenario worked. 100,000 bucks you start with, you end with 100,000 bucks. That's how it works. You get a income stream over the course of that time called a coupon. And if the coupon's paying 3%, that's $3,000 a year. It doesn't go up, doesn't go down. That's it. And it's guarantees to the extent that the bond pays off at your maturity. But if the bond goes bankrupt, of course, you don't get anything back. But let's just assume the bond pays off. You're getting $3,000 a year, 3% coupon, 4% coupon each and every year, $3,000 to $4,000 bucks, 5% coupon, whatever it is, each and every year. Inflation, though, while the coupon's just going like this, inflation's going like that. You see what I'm saying? And on top of that, here's your principal. But I mean, when you factor in inflation, your principal's going like that. So I want to compare the two because VASGX has about 30% in bonds, maybe, yeah, about 70-30, 30% in bonds. VFINX has no bonds. And I think when you see the difference here, you'll see why I'm not a fan of bonds in retirement. At the end of the day, bonds return zero. When you factor in taxes, inflation, bonds give you no rate of return. Doesn't mean you don't buy them. As we talked about yesterday on how bond returns are calculated, bonds can have a mitigating to some degree effect on your portfolio, but I'm going to show you here it's not nearly what you think. And look, this is not to say don't buy bonds. I do not walk away from this thing, I should never buy bonds because that crazy guy Josh says that. I'm not. What I am saying is, when you see these two scenarios in play here, you'll see how the bonds can really, really give you a headwind when it comes to building net worth. All right, so here's VASGX. Started with 100,000 bucks in 1995. That was the first full year, so that's the inception. Its inception was really 1994, but it was in September. So we're starting 1 January 95. Start with 100,000 bucks. We take 5% a year off each and every year, regardless of market conditions. So our ending value is 195,000 bucks, not too shabby. Our ending income was 10,284. Now that's not guaranteed. That's not guaranteed. It could be much less, could be much more, depending on what the following year does. I showed you a couple videos back where the market goes up by 20%, it stays flat, or it goes down by 30%. We could be anywhere from basically 6,500 to I think it was 12,500, basically between those two scenarios. So it could go as low as 6,500, could go as high as, we'll just say, $13,000. That's not guaranteed, but the ending income you received in 2017 was $10,284, and you did have $195 left in your portfolio. So you had $194,000 of total income, and if we take that by the 23 years we had income, that gives us an $8,456 average annual income. So we got $8,456 average annual income, roughly $200,000 we made of income, and we have a portfolio value of $195,000, all derived from an initial $100,000 investment during some of the most volatile market times we've ever seen in history. The lowest value was in 2008. It fell all the way to 116. All right, so we started with 100, it grew, and it fell all the way to 116. The highest value was only 200. So even after, I mean, we're talking 2017, it's only at 195, which is still significantly, well, not significantly, it's still, what's that, 2.5% off our highest value. So basically, from 1999 till today, we basically haven't made any money on the principal at all, which is I was somewhat shocked by that, actually. That's interesting to me. I mean, so you look at that, 195 at the end of 2017, and in 1999 it was $200,000. Now we have taken a lot of money income off, but you know what the facts are. You started at the decade of the new millennium, whatever, at 200,000, and you end 18 years later with 116,000. I mean, you took a couple, some serious money out of there, but your principal essentially stayed flat. That's just interesting. All right, so that's that. That's still better than a annuitization strategy. I'm just telling you, in my opinion. So let's go VFINX. Now again, VFINX is all domestic large company stocks. That's the S&P 500, which is the top 500 stocks in America via market capitalization. I'm not going to explain exactly how that works. Go back to the last video where I go in that in detail, probably more detail than needed, but this is just market capitalization. It has nothing to do with small caps, nothing to do with international, nothing to do with mid caps, and maybe a couple big caps. But generally speaking, the biggest companies in America, and they do switch out every, like a couple times a year. So our ending value here is 271. Our ending income is 14,290. So we have 40% more income than VASGX, and we have, was it 80,000 more of 75,000 more of portfolio value. Our total income is 233,000, so we have averaged income of 15% more than VASGX as well. So I mean, look at that. We got 40% more in income than VASGX, and we've averaged 15% more year over year over year, and we have significantly higher ending value. I mean, that's just nuts. Our lowest value was 121, and I was shocked to see that. I thought for sure this would have a lower value than VASGX. 121. So in terms of volatility, I mean, look at that. You go from 271, 121. I mean, see, it's more of a higher, and even though the low isn't as low, from the highest perspective, was the peak to trough, is that what's called? There's more of a downside from peak to trough for the VFINX. I hate to say it, but not nearly to the extent that, in my opinion, would make it worth having that less of an ending value for sure. And then our highest value is here, 2017 at 271. So the four scenarios, let me just bust up my spreadsheet here too, because I just want to give you an example. Oops, let me just give you, I want to show you, or not show you, I'm going to share with you. All right, so in 2001 and 2, VASGX was down 5.44, 8.86, and 15.84, whereas VFINX was down 9, 11, and 22. All right, so I mean, it was down more for sure, but not anything I'd say, oh my goodness. 2008, VASGX was down 34.39, and VFINX was down 37, something like that. Let's see, hold on just a second. Was down 37. I mean, so, and then like 2011, VFINX was up 1.97. This guy was down 2.28. 2015 it was down 1.17. This guy was up 1.25. I just, you know, at 2017, this guy was up 21.67. This guy was up 19.21. So it has a little bit less on the downside, does VASGX, and certainly less on the upside. Anyway, that's the story. To wrap this whole series up, this is historical. I have no clue what's going to happen in the future. None. So many people are harping on international stocks because the valuations are so low. And at the end of the day, you got to start wondering, maybe there's a reason valuations are low. Maybe it's just not business friendly like the good old US of A. Maybe that's a reason why the US is the capitalism, and we're not even a heavily capitalistic society by any stretch of the imagination, but we're certainly more so than Germany, you know, the EU. Maybe there's certainly in China, for heaven's sake. I mean, do you think China is going to overtake us as a communist-run country and the dictatorial powers of, what's his name, Xi or what, XI? I'm not sure how to pronounce that in Chinese. I know Xu is XHU, I think Xu. So maybe, I don't. Either way, the current chairman of the Communist Party, Xi Jinping, I think. And he's consolidating powers just like Mao did. So he's going to be the most powerful premier, if he's not already, since Mao. Do you really think he wants capitalism there? And if he doesn't have capitalism, he's not going to grow. So maybe there's a reason. And maybe that's why the S&P 500 is still the best game in town. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But, I mean, look at that. You can't tell me. This has international. This has bonds. This has small. This has none of that. And yet, after the most volatile up and down markets we've had since the Great Depression, this just outperformed every single strategy that I've shown here in terms of the VASGX, which is diversified, in terms of just a straight, taking annuities off the table, taking gains off the table to annuitize them. So what I'm going to do next, actually, I do want to show you without the 5%. I'm just curious now. Now it literally just hit me while I was yapping here. What if they just did nothing? What would be the performance of both these funds looking at each other with just putting $100,000 in and leaving them be? And I'll run that for you next. So this will not be the ending of our strategy. We'll run these two numbers and see, because at the end of the day, putting $100,000 in VFINX and taking 5% a year off, that's, in my opinion, that's the way to go, without question. It's not even debatable to me. But who knows if that'll be in the future? That was the past. The past does not dictate the future. So subscribe. Let me know what you think. As always, if you want to support the show, go to Amazon. You can always click on the links in the show notes down there. If you go click on the link, you're going to buy something from Amazon. You're like, I'm going to buy my daughter a new Honda car. Hey, just like Bob Barker, The Price is Right. You want a new car. Go to Amazon, click on the Amazon link, and I will get paid a commission. That'd be a sweet commission, too. So I highly suggest you do that. Just don't do it with debt. But if you were to do that, does support me. I think the commission's 4%. So if you spend $100 on Amazon through my link, I get $4. And if the video is worth $4 to you, man, it'd be my pleasure to have that $4. So, but either way, if you don't, just watching these videos helps me a lot. So I appreciate that. And a thumbs up always helps as well. We'll see you next time.